Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that only has one sort of drinking problem, and that's getting that stupid cup up to our lips. I am Jeremy. I'm sitting here by myself during the holiday season in the midst of a lot of work and in the midst of a lot of personal items. It is that season where we give the most money to other people, and we give our best to make sure that other people have the best possible holiday. I am really looking forward to New Year's at Disneyland and California Adventure this year, spending time with a family and friends. I'm going to post pictures, so you can go ahead and check those out at your leisure. If you're interested, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr, and you can follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. If you have any suggestions for the show, fan mail, or hate mail, you can send it to mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com and their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. This panel I was so excited for when I was told I was going to be hosting, and it's because it's one of those guys where I will freely admit I did not read his comics growing up because I was not the biggest Iron Man fan. The movies have kind of turned me around on that, and the writing of Brian Michael Bendis superbly helped my opinion of Tony Stark more recently. But back in the 80s, it was not a character I latched onto. I'm an X-Men kid. However, every time you passed by an Iron Man comic book, you could always recognize it before you even saw the title because of the art of this man. He seems to be largely responsible with the writers at the time of turning Iron Man from a book that was nearly canceled into one of its biggest sellers. I know that's hard to imagine that there was a point where Iron Man was not a huge deal, but yes, during the early 80s of Marvel, Iron Man was struggling rather mightily. The artist on those books is Bob Layton. And if you don't know that name, you're about to. He actually met Robert Downey Jr. on the set of Iron Man because, again, he's credited with a large amount of the turnaround of Tony Stark into a major player in the Marvel Universe. He was also there during the infamous storyline Demon in a Bottle. That's where Tony Stark developed his alcoholism that stood for a long time in the comic books and still overshadows some of his decisions to this day. I want you to listen to his thoughts during the creation period of that time, what he thought about Tony Stark's weaknesses. I also want you to hear about his weird misadventure that he relayed to me between him and John Romita Jr. I'm still not sure if it's true, but it's a hell of a story. And, Bob, I don't know if I'm allowed to call him Bob. Mr. Layton is very opinionated. He lays out everything he thinks at the moment he thinks it, which makes for a very honest interview. So it was fascinating to me to talk to this man face to face. Take a listen to this. I guarantee you he is high energy and you will not regret it. I'll see you in a bit.
Life is good, you know?
See, the thing is though, I grew up knowing your art, maybe not necessarily reading the Iron Man books, but you're one of those people that, to me, is ubiquitous with certain books. Like when some people think about Jim Lee, they automatically go to the X-Men. When people talk about George Perez, they go to Teen Titans. You are almost quintessentially the Iron Man artist to me.
If you don't believe that, just ask me.
I believe it because, Iron Man didn't hit me big as a kid. I was mostly an X-Men person.
Yeah.
But even then, I would recognize your work, and just by being able to see an image, I know that's an Iron Man book.
Right.
Without question.
I had a definitive look for that. I hated Iron Man.
Really?
You're old enough to remember, it's like the early Iron Man stuff. It was like some really dumb shit, There's just guys here, so we're just going to talk. Yeah, it was really some dumb shit. As a kid, I used to make my own Iron Man comics. I'm just like, because it's like, it was never about Tony Stark. And to me, it's like, as a kid, I didn't want to be Iron Man. I wanted to be Tony Stark, That's way cooler. And that's attainable to some degree, right?
Right.
It's like, that seemed like for a teenage fantasy, that seemed way more attainable than, an armored suit that flies around, And I just said, if this guy was alive, if he was real, he'd be a rock star, And so, strange enough. I mean, even Doom Quest, the famous Iron Man, Dr. Doom in Camelot.
Right.
That was a comic I made when I was 11 years old.
What?
Yeah, I came up with my own, and I was telling Dave Michelini about it one night when we were plotting. He goes, "I love that." And it's like now it's it's like quintessential Iron Man reading, but I came up with it when I was 11. Weird.
Jeez. Well,
never throw anything away. I guess that's yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you started your work at Marvel as Wally Wood's apprentice.
Yeah, when Woody was still doing inks up there.
Okay, well,
that's how I got my foot in the door, because he hated to go into the city, so I volunteered to take the train down from Connecticut, and I got my foot in the door, and I'd throw samples at John Romita, who was the art director there at the time. When I got through the front door, getting through the front door was the hard part, but he was Wally Wood. They just let me in. I got Wally Wood pages in my hand. Let me in.
So you were, what was the word for your job? Assistant at the time?
Yeah, apprentice, assistant.
Apprentice, okay.
Basically background art, doing background art. A lot of the old school guys, that's how you got your training, was doing all the trees and the rocks and the houses, all the crap's not interesting. That's how they kind of made a living, because back then they didn't get paid a lot, so it was about speed. So you hired an apprentice. I think I got $12 a page back then, and it's
Jeez.
like... But, you also got invaluable training from one of the great, guy who invented the modern school of inking is actually Wally Wood. So.
And Marvel eventually offered you, if I read this correctly, a contract you couldn't refuse?
Well, no, any contract you wouldn't refuse, because it was hard to make a living,
I understand that.
And it had the health benefits and stuff in it, I mean, yeah. We all had to live in New York. There wasn't FedEx or anything like that. So you had to live in the tri-state area, which is never cheap.
Right.
It's
just I needed clarification, because according to the sources I looked up, they offered you a contract you couldn't refuse. I didn't know if they meant that it was good enough money, or if they held a gun to your head. I didn't know.
No, well, I had bounced around from company to company. Back then, anybody offered you $5 more a page, you went, right? And it's like when I came back to Marvel, like the third time, was I brought Michelini with me, because we had been collaborating together at DC, but we knew DC was about to implode. And so I said, come over there. And he wasn't a Marvel guy. He didn't know it all. And they offered, back then, everything was on the newsstands. So they would sign contracts with the Mafia to basically distribute 12 issues of Spider-Man a year and 12 issues of the Avengers a year or whatever. And usually by issue 6, they kind of knew whether the book was going to get canceled or not. So they would take the A-list guys off. The book they knew they were going to cancel, and they put schmucks like us on there as tryouts. That's how they tried it, because they didn't publish that many titles. I think Marvel only had 15 titles at the time. And DC had about the same. So you usually had to wait for someone to die before you got a job, right? Which I'm not joking, okay? It's like somebody started to look sick. You're like, oh, is that book going to be available? Hi, Tanya. Did you bring food?
I did.
Oh, what? Not for me. Well, that's tease.
Is it for her, or?
It's from Rebecca, but I don't know where she is.
I don't know either.
I haven't seen her.
Why, do you need food?
No, we need people. I just got these two brave souls. I got this fellow. There you go. There we go. There's Dave. Hey, Dave. Come on in, man.
See, I walked in and they just followed.
Well, they like girls. What can I tell you? Boys like girls, man. It's the truth.
Well,
So anyway, that's how we wound up with Iron Man, because Iron Man was on the chopping block.
right.
And so I basically said, I told Dave, I said, we want Iron Man. Trust me, we want Iron Man.
So you went out of your way to grab the book.
Yeah, I grabbed that one as the canceled title that we get to do. And I asked nicely, I said, do you mind if we change a few things? And they're like, we don't care, we're going to cancel the book anyway, But by the time we had finished our 6th issue, it was one of their top 10 sellers. So the rest is history, as they say.
Can I ask what few things you changed in the book?
Well, rock star Tony Stark. When they also introduced Rhodey.
Okay.
I introduced the specialty armors. The first thing that first guy to ever really. Because to me, I grew up in Indianapolis. Okay, and it's like, so they always had the Indy 500 there. And I was kind of a car kid growing up. And, there's a big difference between a stock car and a Formula One car. They're built entirely different. And a submarine does not work in outer space. And it's like, the fact that he builds this Deus Ex Machina can do anything, just struck me as kind of childlike, and to me it was like making everything believable. And I want to make him a badass, too, because I was tired of him having like a heart attack every time he was fighting somebody. He'd keel over. And he had like 50 heart attacks or something, and the only person that ever had 50 heart attacks and lived was Dick Cheney, So, and by then, even heart transplants were commonplace in the 70s, so it didn't make any sense anymore, just that. So it was the Hall of Iron, creating the workshop where Tony actually had, prototype armors there, that whole thing. But introducing us, like giving him a friend. Tony never had a friend. Any millionaires that doesn't have a crew? I mean, come on, And it's like, so it seemed ridiculous. So we brought Rhodey in with the third issue. We started killing a lot of people in the early issues. He was fighting like the zoo guys, Animan or whatever it was, like Monkey Man, Frog Man.
Zodiac too?
No, I don't know what they were. They're really stupid, though. I mean, Iron Man had some stupid-ass villains. So, Dave goes, what do we do? I said, let's set off a bomb on page 5. Just kill them all. So we can get on with what we want to do. And we did. You go back and look. Right? We set off a bomb on page 5, just killed all those stupid-ass characters, and went on with the story. Because, so by the time we got to, like, issue 118, was about 3 issues into it, we started to formulate the corporate world of Tony Stark. And we had Rhodey in there, and Sarbagas and Beth McCabe, and we created a whole new cast of supporting characters. But we also started making him a lot cooler and a lot more badass. That's why we did the Hulk issue.
Hulk
The whole relationship between Banner and Tony started with us.
Okay.
But I said, one of the things was he was always kind of a third-rate Marvel character. And I said, what we got to do is make him badass. Mm-hmm. And Dave's like, what do you think you should do? I said, I think you should knock the Hulk out. I said, put him up with the Hulk and have him knock him the fuck out, right? So
that's a statement.
That's what we did, But after that, everybody's like, okay, Iron Man's a badass, It's like, yeah, you did it, But that was part of the plan.
It sounds like what you were aiming for was pretty much what ended up being the quintessential Tony Stark, like the movies, the Robert Downey Jr. version.
Well, yeah, it was really, really cool because I had a chance to talk with Downey a whole lot of time. Because as you've probably figured out by now, I put a lot of my own personality into Tony Stark.
I was starting to figure it out.
Downey did the same thing. He goes, you're really more like Stark than I am. I said, I know. Because I'm a smart ass, right? And it's like, ask Susan, that's my girlfriend.
Are you a smart ass?
Yes. So a lot of it was just living vicariously through that character because that's kind of I created my own role model, basically.
Do you remember doing work on the Demon in the Bottle storyline?
Yeah. I mean, Johnny and I were just talking about that yesterday.
Really?
We were doing an interview. Yeah, it's like we were talking about that. We did an interview with some guy, and it's like Johnny downplays his role, but I said, dude, that's a story. That's one of the few comic book stories that civilians know by title. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That had that kind of impact that the civilians will actually have heard of that story. Well, I said, how many comic stories do they actually know by title?
Well, I mean, part of that I think you can thank the internet because, like I said, I'm a long-term comic book reader. I know that story, but CBR.com has it as like the number 5 on the 25 best Iron Man stories of all time.
Well, it's somewhere along that of the best stories of all time, period.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that.
No, not just Iron Man stories, but we actually, on the top 100 comic books of all time, we were like number 20.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it's just one of those stories. Did you guys know when you were working on it that you had like lightning in a bottle when it came to that?
You never know that. Because I'd do it every month, wouldn't I? Oh my God, I would just blow you guys away! If I just every single month, okay, here's another thing, it's going to be an instant classic. It's like, no, you never know. We were just telling the story that we wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And the alcohol thing was part of the corporate world that we created for him. And it was to replace the heart problem, which was stupid. And, its time had come and gone. And we thought this internal struggle with him would be much more of a weakness that you believe. And obviously it worked because they carried it right into the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Downey was always so disappointed that he never got to do Demon in a Bottle.
Wow. Really?
You know? Yeah. It's his favorite. Well, obviously, it's like, it's almost his life story, dude, Except Tony never went to prison twice,
That was the fun part about when he was cast, because I heard Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and I'm thinking, a spoiled rich guy who has a massive substance abuse problem and is still getting his way. All he has to do is get out of bed, muss his hair, and he's all set to go.
Yes, pretty much. He came camera ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but obviously that wasn't Marvel's tone they were going to take. Mm-hmm. They did do an homage to it in Iron Man 2, and that was strictly because Downey wanted to play drunken Tony Stark. That
was the compromise?
Yeah, that was the compromise. Yeah.
I think that's a story that needs its own film.
Well, yeah, but Marvel will never do a story that dark. If you look at Marvel movies, they tend to be kind of happy. Look, where everybody's fine at the end. Nobody dies except people you don't care about. So it's like, they're not. Maybe when they get to Phase 10, it'll be like, everything will look like a Frank Miller comic. I don't know.
I guess you're right. On the scale between like Jon Favreau and Zack Snyder, that does fall almost directly in the middle.
Yes, exactly. But it's not something that's not the tone Marvel takes with their movies. It's way too dark for that.
Yeah, I get it, but I will reserve disappointment in that.
I think, Downey was very disappointed too, because he thinks it's a story that needs to be told, and it still resonates after, almost 40 years now?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, you took away one of his worst weaknesses and gave him one that, after punching out the Hulk, still puts him in the realm of being human.
Yeah, no, but I still get letters all the time, or emails now. Nobody writes letters, but I get letters. Yeah, from my mom on holidays. But no, I'll get emails from guys like in the service who are struggling with alcohol, have a wife and kid back home. They said they have a copy of Demon in a Bottle framed on their bunk and on their ship or something, just to remind them. There are AA groups at cons, larger cities. That actually come speak there, it's like, because they all get together as comic fans who are in AA, and this is like 40 years later. This still resonates with people.
Please tell me people don't show up to that in cosplay or anything.
Oh no, nothing that crazy. But
I'm trying to imagine what an AA comic book group looks like, and it's a very strange.
It looks like a bunch, just a regular like us in here, except that we all love comics and we have alcohol problem, But it's like. It again was because when we did it originally, there was such an incredible outpouring of letters. I mean, we just got bags. People at Marvel, they were just flabbergasted because there was just bags of mail coming in from people. Like, I hated my dad. I never understood why he was like the way he was, and I read this book, and now I understand it's a disease. I understand, I mean, it was touching stuff, But that wasn't our intent. We just moved on to the next story, man. It's time to knock the Hulk out, It's like, off we went, But we had long-term plans for these characters and trying to create that world. And obviously, again, it resonated, So, but you never know when it's going to. I never, like I said, if I could create the next Spider-Man tomorrow, I'd be out there doing it, right? We never know what's going to resonate with you guys,
True. Does anybody have any questions right now for him? Go ahead.
Yeah, let's not keep this too formal. Just
you had mentioned that your inspiration for Iron Man was a lot from you in your own personal life, and that's how you helped develop his character.
Yeah, I drank a lot too.
We should get John Romita in here, okay? Get John Romita in here because it's like we're telling Susan stories. I got a great story how we wanted to go to Atlantic City. We chartered a plane out of New York after drinking Dom Perignon all night, and the pilot let me fly it. It's like, yeah, this is stupid shit, man.
Toward the tower.
Yeah, toward the World Trade Center. He said, just point it at the World Trade Center and turn right, And Johnny's like, Messi. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. This is why we're doing Iron Man, Yeah, we had fun. You didn't know that was true until Johnny.
I believe you.
Yeah.
It's kind of too bizarre to be, made up.
Yeah, I know. That's what he said.
This sounds like a combination between three different films.
No, but it was also something Tony Stark would do, right?
True.
Yeah, see? That's my point.
Want me to go see John?
That would be fun, but no, let's leave it alone, okay?
Which I don't understand. Okay, you guys answer me this. You got John Romita Jr. and Bob Layton in the same con. Why aren't we sitting next to each other? You know? I mean, how often do the two of us ever get, because we were like besties for years, but I don't see Johnny anymore because I don't travel in these circles. And it's like, so I'm here at the con, and he's at the opposite end of the thing, right? And I'm like, Johnny just came over and said the same thing. He goes, why are we not sitting together? You know, they're all stacks of Iron. You guys bringing stacks of Iron Man books, and they got us on opposite ends of the floor.
Maybe they're afraid they put you too close together and you'll aim another plane at the World Trade Center.
Yeah, something bad happened. Yeah, I was never a good influence on him. I have to admit, I was always the instigator. I'm matured.
Well, thank goodness we can't fly the building. Goodness knows where we'd end up.
I'm matured though.
What was your position at Valiant? You're called one of the architects of Valiant Comics.
Well, yeah.
What was your position there?
I was production manager and editor, line editor. I co-created everything except Harbinger. Jim brought me in from Marvel, which I was hesitant to do, but on the promise that I would, own a percentage of the company.
Okay.
And a chance to not be a wage slave and actually participate financially in something. Because, I had been at Marvel on contract for like 15 years at that point, and Iron Man was at the height of its popularity, and Johnny and I were just getting ready to do Armor Wars 2 Electric Boogaloo. And it's like, but then from a business standpoint, and I was always trained in business too. Dick Giordano, who was my mentor after Woody, was always a solid businessman and always taught me the business of comics as well. And it seemed like an opportunity to be more than what I was. Because, one more series, one more year of Iron Man wasn't going to further my career anymore. I'd already, been on the book over 100 issues. It's like I was looking always for something better to do, The only trouble with the deal is that Jim had no intention of fulfilling it. Turned out he wasn't in a position to actually give me what he offered because they were owned by venture capitalists and they owned the company. But I was always the guy he went to. I was his idea man at Marvel. When he'd get stuck on a story, he'd give me a call. Or, if he needed an idea for something, I would sit in on the thing because, that's what I do. I create concepts is what I do naturally.
Right.
And so that's what he says, I need you over here to help me, build a line. It's like, I need an armor character, I need a supernatural character, blah, 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 blah. So you got Exo, you got Shadow Man, you got Archer and Armstrong, because I love doing funny stuff. He said, give me something like Hercules, it's like, so, it was Archer and Armstrong. But, as it turned out, he got into a war with the venture capitalists, he went bye-bye, but I was running the place day to day anyway. I was hiring the talent. I was running Nabro, which is the bullpen there. I was overseeing production. I was working my ass off, actually, and inking 2 books and writing another one on top of that. So I was 17-hour days, 7 days a week for 2 solid years. I actually put myself in a hospital twice, but I believed in what we were doing, and it was a chance for me, like I said, to not be a wage slave to Marvel, but to actually have some control over my own destiny.
Okay, so you don't have any connection to the current run of Valiant?
No. What happened was that after Jim was ousted, the people who actually owned the company gave me the deal that he had promised me.
Really?
Yes. So, and then in '95, what happened after we sold to Acclaim? What happens? If you understand venture capital, they're short-term investors. They come in, they pump a ton of money into it. Oh, this sounds like a good idea. You want to make glowing in the dark thermostats. That sounds great. We'll give you $4 million for glowing in the dark thermostats, and you better make a lot of them and better sell, right? So after their initial investment was like $4 million, and after the second year of $30 million profits, they pretty much said, that's a pretty good investment. $60 million for a $4 million investment, that's fine. We went out. They ordered us to sell the company. Unfortunately, the highest bidder was Acclaim, one of the worst managed video game companies in the world. Yeah. So, but I sold my stock. They bought our stock because, me, John Hartz, and Steve Wazarski were all stockholders in the company.
So part of that purchase was they bought our stock, and that included the rights to all the characters. That was part of the purchase deal. Don't feel bad for Bob, because he got a lot of money, okay? But as a result, I do not have the rights to any of those characters. Now, I still am the creator, and if they make a Ninjak TV show or they make an XO movie, they still have to give me credit as, created by,
Have they talked to you already about the Harbinger film?
Well, I had nothing to do with Harbinger.
Okay.
That was Jim's baby, that line, that was his X-Men knockoff.
Okay.
It was like, I wasn't a fan of Harbinger per se.
All right.
But that was his territory, I had mine, that's kind of how it kind of got divided up there. It's like I got my books, he's got his. Because any of the books that Barry Windsor-Smith did, I always edited them.
I did notice your name a lot in there.
Well, because Barry didn't trust Jim, but he and I were best friends. So he said, I'll come work there as long as I answer to you and not him, So that's how we got Barry there.
Okay.
Because but there was nothing of Barry without me being attached to it.
Well, later on, you became a pretty prolific cover artist.
Did we answer your question, by the way?
Yeah.
Or I'm
three
just
more beyond,
pontificating, man. Just tell me to shut the.
Plenty to it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Any of you, just tell me to shut up at any time. I'm just so happy you're here. I'm pleased.
You became a pretty prolific cover artist, too. Do you prefer interiors or cover?
Well, no. You mean at Marvel?
Anywhere.
Oh, well, Marvel, there's a really easy explanation for it, okay? I lived down in the Village originally when I first moved there into the city, in Denny O'Neill's old apartment. You sublet it from Denny O'Neill, actually.
Okay.
It was a shithole, too, let me tell you. It was before Soho went renovations. I mean, I could actually see the neighbors through the wallpaper, It's like the walls were that thin, if they turned a lot of lights on and stuff. It was it was a third floor walk up with a bathtub in the kitchen, one of those old things you saw in the Honeymooners, So finally, when I made enough money I could move uptown, I got an apartment over on 27th Street and 3rd Avenue, which is 2 blocks from where old Marvel used to be, their offices. So what would happen was I'd be sitting at home on my drawing board working, and Marvel would send an intern over after 5 o'clock, and this envelope would go under the door. It'd be a sketch for John Ramirez, and we need this covered by tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I became the off-campus annexed Marvel's art department. So that's why you'll see that any given month in those days, I would do 6 to 7 covers, maybe, because it was always deadline hassles, and so they say just send one down to Bob, do him a rough sketch, figure out what to do, and he'll have it on the desk. And it's great for me because I'm trying to build my rep as a creator, so having covers is like primo because you get your name out there more, right? So but it was strictly my locale. It was logistics that happened. I'm sure they would much rather have sent them over to John Buscema or something.
I just love the imagery, though. It makes it sound like an NSA dead drop is happening every night.
Yeah,
Comic
it was. It was some strange shit. And the bad part was if they sent something under there, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Like the Squadron Supreme. I'm like, I don't know who these guys are. What the hell is this? I'm like, there's no internet, right? I'm trying to figure out, I'm making phone calls. Like, okay, who's this bird chick? It's like...
I have this image of you sitting in your apartment opening an envelope. Fans are getting weird.
Yeah, no, it's like... but sometimes it would just be something to be inked overnight, but sometimes it would be a sketch by Dave Cockrum or a sketch by John. Or sometimes it would just be a note saying, can you come up with something? It's like, well, we need it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so, and just my logistics was there. But I think that's part of the reason why, even as my career at that point, why my name got to be known, because I was on so much shit, Which I don't think was a bad thing, but it was mostly logistics more than anything.
Well, actually, are you people aware he has film credits? Like live-action film credits?
Yeah, lots.
I'm a fan of Colony, and he's in the credits.
Go figure.
What is it?
Well, no, because they basically stole the name from a graphic novel I did. So it's part of them just being, don't sue us.
Just drop the rock right on the statement.
Look, there's a lot of stuff I've done like that, because I told you Dickie taught me well,
right?
And a lot of advancing my career is just making a smart business deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, what happened was, there was a time where I was not working in the business at all. I couldn't get work.
I'm having
It was
trouble
politics.
picturing
It was
that.
politics.
Oh, okay.
After having Valiant, who we had won Publisher of the Year, we had really pissed Marvel and DC off. So after I left there, none of them would touch me. It's like it's like you gave us all that shit. You talked bad about us in the press, yeah, because you were you were in the competition. Of course, I would say your books suck. And by the way, your books do suck. But it was one of those kind of things where, yeah. So I was an authority figure at that point, and a lot of guys I remember was like, "You didn't hire me. I came with a Valiant. You didn't hire me. Fuck you." I mean, it was like, yeah, that kind of thing. It's like revenge, It's
Right.
like, so yeah, I said the hell with it, and I just I started my own website, and I just started my own web comics, which Colony was one of them. Okay, and. So I did that until Marvel started making the first Iron Man movie.
They asked you back to
no, what happened was Marvel Studios, they got a hold of Joe Quesada, who was the guy in question here.
Okay.
Who I had fired from Valiant years ago for not making deadlines, which he'd never really forgiven me for. So now he was now editor-in-chief at Marvel. And the word he got is they're like, hey, we're making an Iron Man movie. Where's Bob Layton? And they're like, oops, we've been treating him like shit for the last 10 years. And so it's like, so he sends Tom Brevoort to talk to me, because Joe didn't want to talk to me himself.
Right.
So he sends Tom Brevoort to talk to me, and I'm kind of like, okay, I understand all this. And so I'm looking like, okay, here's what I want. And part of it, I said, you don't put out anything, Iron Man, without attaching my name to it. And I said, that's part of the deal with the movie. It's like, I'll come back, I will do some Iron Man, but I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, anything that has Iron Man on it, there better be some reference to me somewhere along there. That's part of the deal, which worked, I'm
surprised you didn't ask for a picture of Quesada's reaction when that demand
No, I
was
actually
made.
saw that because a couple times I decided to go to the office and I talk about a cold reception. It's like, so yeah, because Marvel said, because I was, you just said, the guy that most associated, and they needed me on a PR level. They wanted me to be your liaison between the film and you guys. They would assure you that, hey, the movie's going to be good. Get the word out there. It's fine. Downey's great. The movie's going to be fun, and it is. It's still one of the best comic to film adaptations ever done, in my opinion. I don't think Marvel's done a better movie, actually. Maybe Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's pretty awesome.
It depends on what you're into. Straight superhero story, I think Iron Man's the best. If
Yeah,
you're
well,
looking for
of
a
everything
political
ever
thriller,
done, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
But then they had the world riding on it. They had borrowed up to their eyeballs. If that movie had flopped, there would have been no Marvel Studios.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, I've always parlayed circumstance to my advantage. That was fun. That part was fun. But that's why there was so much Iron Man product in. They reprinted just before the movie everything I ever done, which was great because I got all the reprint money too. So yeah, but it was like, and then they asked me to come out and work on the film, and so that's kind of how the prelude to getting out to Hollywood.
Okay.
So none of that made anyone at Marvel very happy. Marvel Publishing very happy, but
Have you and Quesada ever buried the hatchet, or is it still?
I've tried to talk to him. He's not really good about it.
Okay.
What would it matter? I mean, he's not even involved with the day-to-day anymore.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And I'm so far out of that now anyway. I'm doing my own thing in Florida now, so.
Okay. Yeah. See, now there's a bunch of things I would like to see. I would like to see you and Romita hang out for a little while because I have a feeling all of a sudden there'd be dancing mice everywhere. But all of a sudden,
You saw it. How was it? Me and Johnny together. Were there dancing mice? No.
But yeah, you and Quesada in the same room. I have a feeling you'll get within about 3 feet of each other, then a storm will
No,
start.
here's the thing. I bear him no ill will. What I did is as editor in chief, and it was my job. Is if you miss deadlines repeatedly, you're not going to work. Especially Valiant, because we never missed a deadline. The first time we ever missed a shipping was because of him. In our history, it's because of him. And he didn't really leave me much choice because my betters, the people I answered to, said he has to go. But you think of being a Marvel, and I'm sure he's fired his fair amount of people over the years.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd understand that it was just business and it wasn't personal, but apparently he took it personal. But that's okay. Politics comes with the territory. They also say you know a man by the enemies he has. I have some pretty powerful enemies. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's pretty cool. I wear it as a badge of courage. You know what I'm saying?
What other film credits do you have?
Well, 7 Marvel movies.
7? Anything just involving Iron Man in general, or?
Well, yeah, that or Ant-Man, you know, whatever like that. I've done the Iron Man TV show for a while. Actually, Rick Lane and I wrote episodes of that.
The animated show, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've written several movies that you're not aware of because they've not yet been made under other names. I worked as a script doctor out there, fixing bad scripts. Really fun. Because your name's not on it, it's less shitty, but you still get paid a lot of money. You know, it's really dude, it's so much better than comics. Because it's like they come to you with a shit script, and they say, "Can you do anything to fix it?" And I said, "Yeah, well, sure, of course I can, because I'm not a bad writer, you know." And so you tool it up, you try make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, and it's like. They're happy, you know, and it's like you don't have to take credit for it and all kind of stuff. But I did production design work. I did, I did script doctoring. I wrote 6 movies while I was out there.
Wow.
You know, yeah. A bunch of TV shows that I don't want to mention here because actually I should.
No.
Oh, it's a great story though. I teach film class sometimes in Florida. I always tell this story about my venture into softcore porn on Cinemax. Which was, it was a comedy of errors, actually.
Depending on the year, I might have seen it.
Well, it was a show called Femme Fatales.
I have seen this.
You've seen it, yes.
I might have been 13, but yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to hear it from you. You shouldn't have been watching that show. I'm going to call your parents after this. What? No. In fact, my script never saw the screen. It's a hilarious story.
What is the story?
How much time do we have?
We still have a good 10 minutes before we're even in trouble.
Do you have more stuff to cover? Because the story of Libra is hilarious.
I have one more panel beyond this, but I'm all ears.
All right. Because I do commission art too when I have downtime or whatever. And one of these guys is Steve Crozier, who was a writer for Castle. He was a showrunner on Castle for a while. But he's a big comic book geek. And I've known him for, a decade and a half or whatever. And so when I got out to Hollywood, I got in touch with Scro. Everyone calls him Scro. And we hung out. He lived down the street from me. So Scro's a good guy. And he just started this show on Cinemax called Femme Fatales, which was kind of like basically softcore porn. Like film noir, softcore porn. And I said, gee, how good for you. I was writing the Iron Man cartoon show at the time, so you can imagine you can't get more diverse than that, right? So I'm in WonderCon in San Francisco, okay? And they're doing a rap party because they had the whole cast of Femme Fatales up there. So they're doing a rap party. So the executives from HBO are there, and some of the actors have been on the show. A couple guys you would recognize, like Robert Lusardo and a few others. And they say, we're having a big rap party at the W. Would you like to come? And I'm like, well, sure. It's free food at the W. Why not, right? I'm no fool. And so I show up, and they're having a big dinner. It's a long table like this with all the execs there and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so after we had their fill or whatever, Steve gets up and goes ding, 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 and starts talking about it and thanks them. And he says, and then he makes an announcement that for our finale from season 2, we're going to do our very first superheroes episode, and Bob Layton has volunteered to write the script. And I'm like turning every shade of red, I'm like, because I had seen the show, it sucked, okay? I mean, who doesn't like naked girls, right? But this is a show that I would avoid, even with naked girls, all right? But he was my friend. So I'm like freaking out, and I'm sitting there, and I'm not trying to blow his cover because he's my bro, right? So I'm like, and everybody's congratulating me on the can't wait or whatever. And so I pinned him up to a wall, and I had a moment like, what the? He goes, look, dude. He goes, they were breathing down my neck. They wanted to do something in the superhero genre. You're the only guy I know, the go-to on this. And he goes, I'm sorry to put you on a spot. But he goes, you can do it. It's a half-hour episode. It's 35 pages. You can do. And I'm like, oh, shit. Well, so he's my brother. So what am I going to do, right? So I go home and I'm like, I don't want to become a pornographer, you know? And it's like, this is not how I want it really. Because have you ever seen the show? I mean, it's kind of loose, it has a loose plot, a premise, and it's just basically for people to get naked and dry hump, okay?
Right.
You know, and
It's
not
slightly
even
more
like real
complicated
sex.
than I have a pizza.
It's really not, it's not even real sex, right? Although Wendy loves that show, by the way. I know. Anyway, so I sit down. I talked to a couple of other writer buddies, and I said, "What am I going to do?" You know, and finally we came to the conclusion that it was a challenge. All right, it's like this is a challenge. I said it would, because a really good writer wouldn't look at this as, you know, anything but like, can I pull this off? Can I actually do this? Wait a minute, and do it right. Do it where the sex isn't gratuitous, where it makes everything kind of makes sense, and these characters have real reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and it's not just connecting sex scenes together.
Okay.
So I sat down and I wrote Libra. I put my heart and soul into it. I figured it all out, and I wrote Libra. It was about a female superhero, you know, much like Black Canary or whatever kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But she had a power baton and all this stuff. But the thing was, she was nuts. The whole idea was that she had been her father was a gangster. There had been an attempt on his life, but instead his wife was killed, and his daughter, who was institutionalized because she suffered from asphyxia, she was shot through the chest and didn't have blood get to her brain. Now, the daughter loved comic books, so when she woke up with the Libra comics. The only thing she remembers is Libra. Mm-hmm. You know, and so you don't know this till the end.
Right.
But the whole idea was the only way somebody would really become a superhero is if they're fucking nuts, right? So I said, well, I'm going to make her fucking nuts, right? So, I wrote this good detective story. Undercover cop gets shot. He's trying to get away. His legs, he's bleeding, and out of the alleyway jumps Libra, rescues him. He's like, "What the hell?" You know, I mean, she kicks everybody's ass and blah blah blah, and takes her back to the lair. So, why does he have sex with her? Because he's starting to piece together clues of who she might actually be. He's starting to suspect. The only way to find out is to look for the bullet holes. You know, if that's the daughter, because he has no way to ID her otherwise. But he knows that the daughter was shot and hospitalized and stuff like that. So while he's recuperating, he seduces her, right?
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But you see him feeling around, he's like, not just having sex, but he's checking to see if this is the bitch that got the through and through, right? Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so long story short, I turned it into HBO, because that's the parent company. And they go nuts. It's the best episode ever. Oh my God! You know, they go crazy. You know, it's like, and so Scroll calls me back and he's like, you wouldn't believe the execs are going nuts about this. They're going to make it an hour-long show. They're going to add cameras. They're getting like real actors. They brought in like Jeff Fahey and a few other people who actually had Jeff Fahey. Fahey, a few other people like that, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I did it. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. This is amazing. And then months went by. I didn't hear from anybody. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm waiting to do the rewrites because it's an hour show now, right? Mm. Nothing. Then one day I get an email, and it's the call sheet for the shoot, which is the next day. And I'm looking at the call sheet, and there's characters on there named Bruno, Chaka. I'm like, who the hell is Bruno and Chaka? You know, I'm like, what is this? So I go to the set the next day, and it's set in a brothel, and there's all these like chicks running around naked for no particular reason, and I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Joe Quesada fired you and took over the script.
So I found the director, and I go, what's going on? They're like, well, we spent so much money on the production, we had no money left to pay you. So the two producers, Scro and another guy, just rewrote your story for you. And what you see on camera, the 2-episode or the hour-long thing of Libra, they only kept one line that I wrote. I am Libra, and these streets are mine. Everything else has been totally just, not only that, but it's the dumbest episode of Fatales has ever done. So I'm on the set for 3 hours, and I said, I've had enough, and I leave. And I get to the gates, and they do this. You can't leave. And I'm like, why? And they go, we've already pre-advertised this everywhere. We got a table at San Diego Con promoting this, with your name all over it. And I said, you're taking my name off of this shit. I said, I am not having my name on this piece of shit. And so finally, this happens every day in Hollywood, by the way. This is not a unique thing. They pulled me into a trailer in the parking lot. We're at the Lacey Street Studios, named after Cagney and Lacey's, where they used to shoot. They pulled me into one of the trailers there, and they you can't take your name off of it. You just, because it'll just create so much problems. And like I said, we've already advertised it everywhere, and we got this whole San Diego thing planned or whatever. And I said, I'm not putting my name on this piece of shit. This is nothing like what I wrote. So finally, I negotiated them down because it looked like a lawsuit was coming next, right?
Okay.
And I didn't get paid that much money to go to court with these guys, okay?
Right.
So I settled for a story by and art design by, because I did the prop comics for it inside the thing too, because he finds the prop Libra comic and all that shit. And finally, we settled on that. I know they used a fake name, thank God, for the actual script, which, by the way, because I like all of you personally, don't ever go look this up and watch it. Because if you want to see a Bob Layton, thing, the people I have showed the actual script to, because even the director was Rob Burnett. I don't know if you know Rob Burnett? Star Trek, crazy guy, okay? All right. Director, he almost had tears in his eyes because he's like, Bob, he goes, I so wanted to do your script. He goes, I can't believe, he goes, I'm trying to make this work, but it's just awful. He knew it was awful. He was incredibly apologetic about it. But yeah, that was my venture into softcore porn. Guys, it's like.
But you weren't expecting that today.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's another day in Hollywood. It makes a great story, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think you're tempted to watch it. You won't even let me watch it.
Yeah, and there's no reason to. There's absolutely no me. There's one line that's like me. And the girl they hired, my friend Rachel was going to cast in it. She was a great actress, knew karate and all this kind of shit. Gorgeous girl, right? And what I didn't know is these guys were using Femme Fatales as their own personal dating service too.
Oh no!
Oh yes. So it's like the girl they hired, Betsy Rue, I think was her name. She couldn't walk in high heels, let alone fight. And it was just. So it's really tragically bad, But you're all gonna go watch it, aren't you? Yeah, I know it.
Don't do it. It's not Bob's work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got nothing else to do today.
Yeah, you'll see. Thanks. Just another day in Hollywood, my brother. Yeah, so I got a whole bunch of credits. I've done documentaries that I'm part of. I got a movie coming out called The Green Ghost that I did with the Almoses. Edward James Olmos' son Michael and his brothers. It's really a dumb movie too.
Like fun dumb or
no? It's the story of The Green Ghost is almost as good as Libra. Okay. But I did the production art for it, and some of the animation sequences, which apparently have been thrown out now, because they decided he got his powers from aliens instead of an ancient gem. So it's like, yes, I did a lot of work. Oh, it was really great because at one point, Michael, who's like my brother from another, Michael almost great guy, okay? He'll be working with me a lot in my Florida Tampa production company. But this is Edward James Olmos' son. And Michael says, he calls me up one night, and he goes, Bob, I need a giant mural of a Aztec king laying waste to an entire army of warriors. And I go, yeah, right, a mural. I guess it's supposed to be the scene in a museum where he comes across a painting of where the gem was being used to basically single-handedly defeat an army. And I said, what do you need it by? He says, tomorrow. And I'm like, are you mother? I said, tomorrow? I said, first of all, I'm not a painter. I'm an illustrator.
You know, and secondly, you need it by tomorrow. It's got to be, 8 foot? He goes, well, we'll blow it up. Just make it tight enough. And I said, you realize that there are Aztecs. They all dress like Cher. None of them wear just loincloths and stuff. They all got giant hairdresses and crap like this. And he goes, yeah, but I will pay you great sums of money, which he did, by the way. So I call a buddy of mine who's a colorist. And I said, you got a painting program, right? You can make it look like a painting. So we're going to knock this thing out, and you can send it directly to them. And so we killed ourselves we had 48 hours. So we killed ourselves. Got it done. They blew it up to this big painting. I mean, I can show you when you get back to my table. I can show you this painting. It's like awesome. And then a few months later, I go see the rough cut of Green Ghost, and they're in the museum, and the painting's gone. And I'm like, let out a giant WTF. I go, Michael, what's the deal? And he goes, Bob, there was nothing wrong with your painting. He goes, the problem was the piece of wood trying to act in front of it. So they just cut the scene out because the guy apparently did it so badly that I want my painting. Yeah, so that's Hollywood.
The one lesson I've learned from you from these two stories is don't let bad actors work in your stuff.
Well, that's true, but that's another story because the guy who financed the movie was also the lead actor.
Oh.
I told you I could spend another hour in here telling you about the Green Ghost. But wait till it comes out. Judge for yourself. Yes.
All right. Well, this man has a table on the floor. This has been rated one of the best Iron Man artists of all time, and obviously you've heard it. He is prolific. This is Mr. Bob Layton.
Thanks for showing up, guys.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
I got a million stories, honest to God.
It sounds like we could be here for another half hour. It was just me laughing.
Oh, we could.
I had a lot of fun doing this panel, and it's going to stick with me for quite a while. And afterwards, I even got a sketch of Tony Stark from Bob Layton. He asked me what I wanted, and I didn't want to say Iron Man. That sounded too on the nose, but if he's going to pattern Tony Stark after himself, what better than a sketch of Tony Stark? And I adore that he did it. I will never be able to put into words how much I appreciate it. There's still a few more panels that I have from Great American Comic-Con coming up. Please listen to them all because everybody had interesting stories. Everybody will give you insight onto the history of some of your favorite comic books and comic book characters. It may not have been a huge convention, but oh wow, I found out so many things and I feel like I learned a lot over the course of 2 days. So thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you are having a great holiday season. Go hug your family. Have a gingerbread cookie. Don't shake what's under the tree because you never know if it might still be breathing in there. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy. Don't jerk and drive. Enjoy.